Hello, Thrivers. Today I wanted to do a really quick video and just talk about one element of PTSD after narcissistic abuse that makes it harder to work through than PTSD from other sources. Now, by no means am I trying to have like an arm wrestling contest of whose trauma is stronger than whose, or whose trauma is worse or more valid than whose. That's not the point. Okay. In fact, people that have gone through narcissistic abuse tend to put everyone else's trauma as more valid and important than their own. And I don't want to encourage that. But there is a very real element that exists in narcissistic abuse that doesn't take place, let's say, for example, with people that have gone to war. And again, please don't misinterpret this. I'm not trying to say that people that have gone through war don't have deep and lasting trauma. That's not my point. So the difference, let me just get to the point. The difference really is if somebody's at war, right, and they're going through trauma and it's horrible what they have to go through and it takes a long time to work through, but they consider that the person they're fighting against is their enemy. And even a prisoner of war, even if that person is being brainwashed, they are being forced to view things in that circumstance, and that's horrible treatment. However, they know that's the enemy in their mind, and when they come back, they are still who they are. In other words, they know who they are. Their identity as to who they are hasn't been altered. They are affected by what they lived, 100%, but they know who they are. Now, when it comes to narcissistic abuse, okay, the enemy is the person that you expect to love you the most, right? Especially if it's a narcissistic relationship with a family member. For example, it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling. But you expect that this person has your best interests at heart. You expect that what they're telling you isn't to manipulate you, isn't to cause you harm. And so as a result of that long-term chronic manipulation and abuse by somebody that loves you, right, or you would expect that loves you, it causes an extra layer of trauma. It causes a layer of relationship trauma. It rocks your relationship with yourself. It alters your relationship with your nervous system, with your feelings, with your body, with feeling safe and comfortable in your own body. It alters the relationship you have with your self-identity. It breeds self-hate, loathing, disgust. And it affects every relationship that you have with others. Because if we don't have a healthy relationship with ourselves, it's really hard to have a healthy relationship with others. But on top of it, the foundation of trust in relationships that you would expect to feel a level of trust in has been stolen, right? You can't feel safe in relationships with friends. You don't feel safe showing up authentically. You don't feel safe in a romantic relationship because the foundations of every type of relationship in your life has been altered by somebody that you did trust at one time, that you expected to have your back, that you expected to love you. And so that's one of the reasons, on top of the fact that a lot of the abuse flies under the radar. And as a result, you may go a long time without even realizing you've been abused. I know so many people that the first thing they did when they were on their road to recovery, they'd go see somebody to get help. And the first thing they would say was, "I'm screwed up. Can you help me? I'm a mess." Because the last thing they thought after all of the manipulation and all of the covert abuse was that the other person was the problem, even though their gut kind of told them. But with all of the gaslighting, they finally thought that the problem was theirs. And if you can relate to that, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to overcome it. And that's because until you change your relationships with yourself, your nervous system, your body, your feelings, your subconscious programs, your relationship with your self-identity, and your relationship with others, you will still feel like you are suffering as a result of narcissistic abuse, even if the narcissist is no longer in your life. So with that in mind, starting January 1st, for the first 3 months of 2022, I'm doing a 3-month post-traumatic growth journey, and it's all about healing relationships, starting with yourself and your nervous system and extending out to every relationship in your life. So if you want to start 2022 with weekly assistance, live meetings, and an international community of people that are on the same journey as you, make sure you check out the Thriver School of Transformation. And if anyone is struggling with why it's so challenging to overcome narcissistic abuse, remember to take into account this element, this aspect of the trauma. The fact that it's done by people that you expected to love you only causes that layer of relationship trauma, and that extends the amount of time it takes to heal. So you have to really give yourself grace and compassion on this journey.